Hello everybody, welcome back to the Inner Sanctum YouTube channel. I'm your host, Ari Stamatakos, and today we're back with another episode of Player Spotlight. Now, for those who haven't seen this series before, basically this is where we're going to go through some players who are on the periphery of the Socceroos squad, in or out of Graham Arnold's plans, just basically look at where their hopes lie heading into the World Cup in November. As you can tell by the title and the thumbnail, this has been a pretty highly requested one. It's on Jason Cummings, so let's get into it. So as we always start every episode of this series, let's take a look at who is Jason Cummings. Well, he's a 27-year-old striker, started his youth career in the lower leagues of England before moving to Hearts and Midlothian in Scotland, and then further on moving to Hibernian, where you then graduated in 2013, playing 114 times at senior level, scoring 55 goals over 4 years. And then from there, he's done pretty much a round trip across the UK, playing for a couple of different clubs. He went to Nottingham Forest for 2 years. During that period, he went on loan to Rangers, Peterborough and Luton Town as well, before getting a permanent transfer from Forest to Shrewsbury Town for 2 seasons, moving to Dundee United for a season before moving to the Central Coast Mariners in Australia from January of this year. He's made 9 appearances at youth level for Scotland, scoring a couple of goals across under 17 and under 20s level. He received his first call up to the national Scottish squad in terms of the senior squad in November 2017, making a full first international appearance in a friendly against Scotland. Now, due to his mother's dual citizenship with Australia, he was eligible to play for Australia, considering he didn't make a competitive cap for Scotland. He only made it in the friendly, and both parties expressed interest in 2019. However, due to COVID, everything got delayed. However, in 2022, he made his first squad. Graham Arnold picked him for the games against New Zealand, and he made his first appearance as a Socceroo in the second half of the most recent game against New Zealand, coming on for 30 minutes and scoring the decisive penalty where Australia won 2-0. Now, that is who he is as a player, or that's what his career has looked like. Let's take a look at what he actually offers on the pitch, and what he offers for his club level, and what he can offer for the Socceroos as well. So as we always do on this series, let's take a look at Jason Cummings' player profile. Now, as I said at the top of the show, he's a striker and he's a really pure number 9. Unlike in these modern days where you see strikers being put out on the left, on the right-hand side, playing as like almost inverted wingers, he is a true number 9. As we said, he grew up and played football at youth level in Scotland and in England, and they obviously have a heavy emphasis on the true number 9, or a traditional number 9 in a sense, and he's taken that and has really progressed his career through it. If we look at his player heat map, this is from his last 6 months, or his 21 games playing for Central Coast Mariners at the back end of last year. We can see that he really does occupy the traditional number 9 spaces in a sense. Obviously likes to get into the box, likes to really push across on that back line, but can also drop deep and play a little bit of a hold-up play. He isn't overly tall. He only stands at 178 centimeters tall, but he uses his frame, he uses his body really well to act as like a target man. But then when he gets a ball at his feet, he's able to dish it off quickly and then make those reverse runs into the box. As we can see here, if I bring the heat map up just now, we can see that he kind of occupies that zone 14 area just outside the penalty box, where he can pick the ball up, lay it off, and then make those runs into the box to get on the end of a cross, or to get on the end of a cutback, or whatever, or what have you. He likes to work really hard out of possession as well. That's something that we've noticed when he went, especially during his time at Central Coast. He's pressing forward off the ball, as well as being a target man / poacher on the ball. He isn't a type of player that is able to run the channels really hard and use his pace and explosiveness to get behind an opposition. He just works really hard out of possession to create space, to tire defenders out, and he uses his football IQ more than anything to get into the correct positions and to get the ball in the back of the net as quickly as possible in a sense. He's a mix, like I said, between a poacher and a target man in a sense. He uses his body really well, like I said, and he's also very clinical in front of goal. And in the times that we have seen of him at Central Coast, we can see that he is very clinical when the ball's in the box. When he's given that first time shot on offer, he'll take it 9 times out of 10 and he'll score. He has really good anticipation, knows where to be at the right times, and like I said, because he doesn't really play out wide as such, he's very narrowed in and focused on what his role is. He likes to play within the channels, so pretty much within the width of the 18-yard box. That's where he likes to do most of his damage. Now, like I said, he works really hard out of possession, which will just suit Graham Arnold's plan. As when we touch on his Socceroos Future, they'll work really well for Graham Arnold, as well as obviously Central Coast have worked well for him this year. Now, some stats that have come out of his time at Central Coast, especially in the back end of last season, was he had 15 goals and assists in 21 appearances, which is a phenomenal record, especially someone who just came into the league and started straight away. Having a record like that's very, very good. And we can say that he had 0.26 big chances created per 90 last season. That's third for Central Coast last season, and that just goes to show that he isn't just a poacher. He's able to hold the ball up and also play some passes and really express his personality in a sense when he plays football. He can hold the ball up, but he's also very eccentric with the ball. He can play passes, he can play in between the lines, and he can really just show how much of a well-rounded footballer he is. He isn't just a poacher, he isn't just a target man. He can do a little bit of both. And like I said, with the 15 goals and assists in 21 appearances, that came with 0.52 goals per 91st for Central Coast last season, as well as 1.41 key passes and 0.26 assists, both fourth for Central Coast last season across per 90 statistics. And once again, that just goes to show how well-rounded of a footballer he is, how well he's able to pick the ball up, play passes, but also get into the box and create chances out of nothing, really, which is just a massive asset for his game. So that's what he offers on the pitch, as we've just seen. Let's take a look at his Socceroos career to date, and by that I mean let's take a look at his one appearance for the Socceroos so far before we move into what the future lies for Jason Cummings. So as we always finish up here on this series, let's take a look at Jason Cummings' Socceroos future and where his future lies in the Socceroos shirt. Now, I know he has already been capped for the Socceroos, but that was for 30 minutes in a friendly against New Zealand, where, granted, he did score a penalty, but you can't really take a whole lot off that. You can't really kind of make any assumptions of that and come to any conclusions based on that game. So I think it's best if we just go straight ahead to what the future lies for him. Now, considering the Socceroos will probably take at least 3 strikers, or probably they will take 3 strikers to the World Cup, it would be very stiff for him to miss out, because based on what we've seen in qualifiers, based on what we've seen in the friendlies, there are really only 4 true natural strikers that Graham Arnold has to pick from, and those are Jamie McLaren, Adam Taggart, Mitchell Duke, and of course Jason Cummings. Now, McLaren seems to be Graham Arnold's first choice, maybe, although he is very fond of Mitchell Duke, who offers that physical presence. Adam Taggart as well, he's scoring a goal every other game for his club side so far this season, so it'll be very interesting to see which 3 strikers he goes for. I think Cummings offers something different that some of those strikers don't offer. He's very good without the ball, as well as probably being the most natural goal scorer of those 3 strikers. However, due to him not being an advanced forward in a sense, he doesn't like to run in between the lines and run over the top of defenses and really use his pace in a sense. Because he doesn't have that, it could be a little bit of what Graham Arnold wants. Now, I think you can look at stats or you can look at goal scoring records all you want, but I think Graham Arnold will have to pick his strikers based on the system that he's going to play and based on the systems that he might play as well, because you'd think that he'll start at least one. I don't assume he'll go with a Matt Leckie or even a Martin Boyle up front. I don't think that he'll go with a false 9 system. I think that he'll go with a true number 9. So it's really up to, he'll take 3, 1 will start, and then 1 will have to sit home. It'll be very harsh for Jason Cummings to not play, or at least not go to the World Cup in Qatar. I just can't see that happening, especially if he continues the goal scoring form. He had 15 goals and assists for Central Coast in 21 games. That is a very good goal scoring record, and that's a goal scoring record in a side which wasn't the best. Granted, they made finals and I think they got knocked out in the quarterfinals against Adelaide United, but he wasn't playing for one of the elite clubs in the A-League like Jamie McLaren has been playing for. So it is tricky to see how he doesn't go just because of that goal scoring record, but whether or not he plays, whether or not he starts, is probably a different story just based on what Graham Arnold's system wants. Now, we've touched on that a little bit so far in this series, where Graham Arnold likes to play a little bit of a 4-3-3, 4-4-2 mix. He does like to have a striker that can offer something physically, can offer a physical presence, as well as being able to link up play. So while that isn't what Cummings' game is purely based on, he does have a strength in that area. He does have a strength in using his body, being a little bit of a target man, and being able to get other players into the game. While Mitchell Duke may have some more aerial dominance, which is something that Arnold, of course, likes to have in his team, as well as McLaren and Taggart being a little bit more athletic in a sense, can maybe get behind the defense and stretch the defense using their width. It's going to be tricky to see, but in my opinion, I just don't see a world in which Jason Cummings at least doesn't go to the World Cup. At least he's definitely, in my opinion, he should definitely be on the plane. And if I were picking the team, I would have him starting, but it's going to come down to Graham Arnold's system. Now, we have to back the manager, have to back the process, but I think he should be on the plane, and whether or not he starts is up to Graham Arnold. But it will be very, very, very good to see him on the plane, considering where he's come from, what he is as a person, how eccentric he is, how charismatic he is as a person, and also what he offers on the pitch. I feel like he could be a real difference maker for the Socceroos. But yeah, that is where Jason Cummings' future lies in the Socceroos shirt. So yes, that is all. Thank you very much for watching this episode of Player Spotlight on Jason Cummings. Make sure you leave your thoughts in the comment section below. Make sure you leave your thoughts on who else you want to be given a Player Spotlight in the future. Make sure you subscribe to the Inner Sanctum YouTube channel, like the video. See you guys next time, and goodbye.